All right, so Andrew Tate, right. It's like you can't escape him, you know? Everywhere you look online, there he is.
Yeah, he's inescapable.
But is it all hype? Or is this guy actually as influential as he seems?
I mean, it's more than just hype at this point.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, last year, he was the third most Googled person worldwide.
Third. Wow. Okay, that's way more than just memes then.
Uh-huh.
I knew he was all over social media, but that's wild.
It is, and it shows you the reach he has. People are definitely paying attention.
I've seen some of his courses, the whole Hustlers University thing.
Right, right.
And honestly, it's a lot to process. Is this guy some kind of self-help guru? Or is there something darker there? Because let's be real, the guy's controversial, to say the least.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's this former kickboxer, reality TV guy, now this, like, super wealthy online entrepreneur. But at the same time, he's accused of some pretty awful stuff, especially toward women. Misogyny, promoting harmful views, you name it.
Yeah, misogyny seems to be the main thing people bring up. So that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We're going through Andrew Tate's own Wikipedia page to try and untangle all this. His background, how he got famous, and of course those super controversial views that everyone's talking about.
And it's important to start at the beginning. Before we get to the Andrew Tate we see today, we got to look at where he came from.
Okay, so where did it all begin?
Well, he was actually born in the U.S., but spent a big chunk of his childhood in the U.K. And get this, his dad, Emery Tate, was an international master in chess.
Chess! No way! So strategy was basically in his blood.
It seems that way, even if they applied it to slightly different fields.
Right. Chess grandmaster to, what is he, some kind of self-proclaimed king of masculinity online? That's quite a jump. So how does a kid with a background like that end up as a world champion kickboxer anyway?
Well, from what we know, Andrew was always interested in martial arts, like even as a kid. He eventually went pro and even earned himself the nickname King Cobra for his, well, pretty aggressive fighting style in the ring.
King Cobra. Man, that totally fits the whole image he's got going on now, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
But it wasn't all knockouts and championships in the ring, was it?
Not quite. He definitely had his wins, multiple world titles, but if you look at his Wikipedia page, it also lists his losses. He wasn't invincible.
Which is important, right? Because the guy projects this image of, like, total dominance, but nobody's perfect. Okay, so we've got the chess background, the kickboxing career, but then he pivots to reality TV. That's a wild turn.
Yeah, it really is. In 2016, he appears on Big Brother in the UK. That's really where he starts getting more widely recognized, but it's also where the controversies, of the ones that really define him today, they start popping up.
Okay, but he was only on Big Brother for like 6 days, right? What could happen in 6 days?
Well, a video came out that appeared to show Tate hitting a woman with a belt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They both said it was consensual, but it caused a big enough stir that the producers kicked him off the show.
6 days. I guess that kind of foreshadowed how things would go later on for him, huh?
It really does, yeah. And it's right after Big Brother that he goes all in on building his online empire. This is when we see the online courses, the exclusive groups, the whole thing. Oh, and the webcam business, too.
And that's where the serious money started flowing, right?
Yeah.
I've heard stories about this Hustlers University, or whatever he's calling it now, the real world, I think.
Yeah, the real world.
And how much money he was pulling in.
It was a lot. At its peak, it was estimated that all his online stuff was bringing in something like $5 million a month.
$5 million a month?
$5 million a month.
Okay, that is insane. He definitely tapped into something, even if his methods, and let's be honest, his message were a bit out there.
Totally. And this is where the whole top G philosophy comes into play. It's essential if you want to understand his appeal, but also why he's so controversial.
So break it down for us. What exactly is top G all about?
It's basically a mix of traditional masculinity, making money, and let's just say pretty old-fashioned views on dating and women in general.
Like, how old-fashioned are we talking?
He's all about men being assertive, successful financially, and, well, being in control, especially when it comes to women.
And he really doesn't hold back on those views either. Some of the things he's said about women are, well, they're pretty out there.
That's one way to put it. And that's exactly why people call him misogynistic, why he's constantly in hot water. Is he actually helping young men, or is he just reinforcing some really harmful stereotypes?
It's like, where's the line between being confident and just being straight up disrespectful? It feels like he crosses that line all the time. But before we get lost in the controversy, let's take a step back.
Good point.
How does someone who says these outrageous things still manage to build this massive, dedicated following? There's got to be more to it than just shock value,
Oh,
really.
for sure. It's not just about shock value. To get it, you got to look past the controversy.
Right.
For a lot of young guys, especially those who feel lost or disillusioned, Tate's message, it's like this beacon, you know?
Like, he's offering certainty in a world that's anything but certain.
Exactly. Yeah. He's got these simple answers, these cut-dried solutions in a world that often feels super overwhelming.
Right. Yeah.
And he speaks to these anxieties that I think a lot of young men feel about their place in the world, about masculinity, about success.
And being a real man, according to Andrew Tate.
Right, exactly. He gives them a framework, a path to follow,
Hmm.
which, can be appealing.
So it's almost like he's giving them permission to bypass all the messy, complicated parts of life, especially relationships.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
He's packaging this whole worldview, the top G blueprint, and saying, this is it. This is how you win. And for some guys, that's incredibly alluring, even empowering.
There's a but coming.
But that same simplicity, it can easily become dangerous. That's where you fall into stereotypes, generalizations, all the stuff that's gotten him into so much trouble.
And it's weird, right? The more controversial he gets, the more famous he seems to become. It's like that saying, all press is good press.
It's the Streisand effect, classic example.
The what now?
The Streisand effect. It's basically like when you try to suppress something, especially online, it just blows up even more.
Ah, so the more people try to shut him down, the bigger he gets.
It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It just makes things worse.
So every time a platform bans him, it's like free publicity. Interesting. It reminds me of it reminds me of Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player. We were talking about figures who people have really strong opinions about.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like you either love Ronaldo or you love to hate him. There's no in between.
No in between. And what's interesting about Ronaldo is that see you celebration he does.
You mean that jump and turn thing he does after every goal?
Yeah.
Even my grandma knows that one.
Exactly. It's everywhere, right?
Mm.
Even if you don't follow soccer, you've probably seen it. It's iconic.
Okay, so what does that have to do with Andrew Tate?
Well, both Tate and that sea celebration, they spread like wildfire. Even when you try to shut them down, it's like they become even more powerful, more appealing because they're seen as taboo or edgy.
I see what you mean. It's like that forbidden fruit thing. People want what they're told they can't have.
Exactly. But, and this is super important, this doesn't mean that we just ignore the serious problems with Tate's influence or that anything he's done is okay.
Right. Fame doesn't equal a free pass.
Exactly. And speaking of not getting a free pass, we can't ignore the legal trouble Tate is in right now.
Oh, right. The whole reason he's back in the news. Multiple investigations. And not just in one country either.
It all started in Romania back in December 2022. Tate and his brother Tristan were arrested, along with 2 women.
And they were in jail for a while, right?
Yeah, months, actually. Held in pretrial detention. And even after they got out, they were still under house arrest, all these strict rules.
Talk about being under a microscope. What are they even accused of?
So in Romania, it's rape, human trafficking, and running this organized crime group that exploits women.
Oh, okay. That's intense.
Yeah, it's serious stuff, and it's an ongoing investigation. But then things get even more complicated. Earlier this year, the UK police, they got an arrest warrant for the Tate brothers, too.
Wait, so now there's a whole other investigation in a whole other country.
Exactly. And the UK investigation, it's more allegations of rape and human trafficking.
Wow. So what happens now? Do they get extradited or?
That's what everyone wants to know.
Yep.
But it's still playing out. And to add even more fuel to the fire, just a couple months ago, Romanian police raided some of Tate's properties. They're expanding their investigation.
So even more serious than the human trafficking and rape charges.
The new charges: trafficking minors, sex with a minor, money laundering, even trying to influence witnesses.
Oh, wow. This just keeps getting wilder.
It's a lot. And through it all, Tate and his brother, they're saying they're totally innocent. They're fighting these charges every step of the way.
So where does that leave us? Guilty or not, this guy's made a huge impact. It's almost like we're watching this cultural moment unfold in real time,
Yeah.
Like, what does this whole thing say about influence, about masculinity in the age of the internet?
It makes you think, right? You've got this guy, undeniably charismatic, built this platform by tapping into something real, like real anxieties, real desires. But then on the flip side, you've got these incredibly serious accusations and this pattern of behavior that just screams red flags.
Right. It's almost impossible to reconcile those two things. Like, you can't just dismiss him outright because his influence is real,
Oh, for sure.
But then you also can't just ignore all the harm his message could be causing, especially for younger guys.
It's tough. Like, how do you even approach that? It's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. His ideas are out there all over the internet, and whether we like it or not, they're connecting with people.
So what do we do? How do we deal with this kind of online influence? Especially when it comes to something as sensitive, as potentially dangerous as how young men view women.
Honestly,
Mm.
I don't think there are any easy answers. But I think it starts with talking about it openly and honestly.
Having those uncomfortable conversations.
Exactly. Because if we don't talk about it, it doesn't just go away. And it's not just about silencing Tate or anyone like him. It's about giving people the tools to think critically, to question what they see online, especially young people.
So media literacy, being aware of how algorithms work,
All of that.
understanding how to spot manipulation, even when it looks appealing.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, we're all responsible for the information we consume, right?
Right. So be discerning, ask questions, and don't be afraid to push back on narratives that feel iffy.
100%. And if you disagree with someone, that's okay. You can disagree without shutting down the conversation. You can challenge harmful rhetoric while still being respectful.
And remember what we were saying about Ronaldo?
Yeah.
It's like, just like with the whole Ronaldo-Messi debate, there are going to be people on both sides of the Andrew Tate thing. And that's fine as long as we can have those conversations, those disagreements, respectfully and thoughtfully.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Pretending these issues don't exist, trying to silence every voice we disagree with, it doesn't work.
In fact, it might even make things worse.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive on Andrew Tate, I think the biggest takeaway here is the importance of critical thinking, of open dialogue. The internet's a wild place.
Wild is an understatement.
It's given a voice to all kinds of people and ideas, some good, some not so good. It's on us to navigate it all responsibly,
Couldn't agree more.
to be critical consumers of information, and to be willing to have those tough conversations even when they're uncomfortable.
Because the stakes are just too high to stay silent.
That's a wrap on Andrew Tate. For now, anyway. Big thanks to our expert for breaking it all down for us,
Anytime.
and to you, the listeners, for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.